Hi, my name is Kailey, and today I will be explaining to you how the human heart works. First, we'll start out with some basic anatomy. We all know that no one can survive without a heart, but why is that? Well, as said from the Mayo Clinic, the heart beats 5 quarts of blood every minute and 100,000 times every day. Overall, that will amount to 35 million beats per year. The cardiovascular system has 3 major systems that helps to sustain homeostasis. These systems consist of the heart, the blood vessels, and the blood within the vessels. The blood of the body carries oxygen and nutrients to the cells and removes waste that the cells create. While the blood plays an extremely important role in maintaining homeostasis, without the heart and blood vessels, we wouldn't be able to pump the blood into the cells of the body. Here is a picture of the inside of the human heart. Overall, the veins and arteries existing of the blood of the heart are what transports the blood being pumped to the lungs and the rest of the body. The blood first comes into the heart through the superior vena cava and inferior vena cava and coronary arteries. These 3 passageways are all veins that bring deoxygenated blood into the right atrium. The superior vena cava retrieves blood from the upper part of the body, and the inferior vena cava collects blood from the lower portion. The coronary arteries are vessels that propel around the muscle of the heart and supply it with oxygenated blood. The blood then will move the deoxygenated blood through the coronary sinus and into the right atrium. As the blood collects in the right atrium, the pressure within the walls of that chamber increases and eventually releases the valve that lets into the right ventricle. The valve that blood passes through is called the tricuspid valve and will open with the right amount of pressure and close when the right ventricle fills up. When the blood pumps out of the ventricle, it will go through a semilunar valve into the lungs. When the blood leaves the heart through the pulmonary trunk, it goes through a network of vessels to get back to the left atrium. The deoxygenated blood goes through arteries and then arterioles until it reaches the capillaries within the lungs. From there, the oxygenated blood re-enters the heart from the capillaries to venules and then through veins, which lead to the left atrium. From here, this oxygenated blood fills the atrium, once again increasing the pressure put on the walls. The mitral valve or bicuspid valve then releases and allows the blood to fill the left ventricle. The next contraction sends the blood through the semilunar valve and into the aorta, where blood is then circulated throughout the body. The cycle repeats itself every heartbeat. Now, the heart usually beats 60 to 100 beats per minute, but what speeds up our heart rate when we exercise and slows it down when we relax? Well, that is part of the job of the autonomic nervous system on our heart. When we begin to exercise, our cells are creating more waste that need to be removed from the body via the blood. In order for the waste to exit the body and oxygen to re-enter the cells, blood must move through the heart and lungs quicker. The nerves within the autonomic nervous system are stimulated and, in a sense, realize the need for a faster heart rate. It will then release a drug called epinephrine. Your heart will in turn beat faster and adapt to the sudden need for more oxygen and nutrients. The same goes for the parasympathetic side of the autonomic nervous system. Nerves are stimulated, such as the vagus nerve that resides in your neck, and immediately slows down the heart rate and the overall amount of blood being pumped out of the heart. We all know that the muscle of the heart contracts, right? Well, that muscle, the myocardium, cannot contract unless it receives an electrical impulse from specialized cells within the heart. The impulse is also known as the action potential and fires within these places of the heart, otherwise known as nodes. Even though there are multiple places within the heart that conduct an impulse, the heart in general follows a common rule that only the node with the fastest conduction rates will allow the function of sending the heart's action potentials. For most every person with heart conditions, the majority of electrical impulses For most every person without heart conditions, the majority of electrical impulses will be sent by the sinoatrial node located in the right atrium. This particular node will fire instead of the others because it has the fastest conduction rate, beating at 60 to 100 beats per minute. This begins to make sense when the National Heart, Lung, and Blood Institute explains that the SA node is sometimes called your heart's natural pacemaker. Your pulse, or heart rate, is the number of signals in the SA that the SA node produces per minute. So this makes sense that the electrical impulse originates in the SA node and travels to the atrioventricular node and then through the atria's internodal pathways. Once the impulse reaches the AV node or junction, there is a quick pause so the blood can fill into the ventricles. After this occurs, the impulse is sent to the bundle of his and into separate branches that go to each ventricle. From the right and left branches, the impulse finally reaches its endpoint at the Purkinje fibers. The electrical pathway is now complete. These impulses allow the myocardium to contract and push blood out of the heart. Without this electricity, the heart would not pump. So thank you for listening to my presentation of the anatomy and physiology of the cardiovascular system. Have a nice day.